What up? It's the real ones. Howard Beck, senior writer for The Ringer. He is Raja Bell. And we are thrilled today to be joined by a two-time NBA champion, the original no stats all-star, a phrase I hadn't thought about for a while, but I want to ask about. One of the most thoughtful guys I've seen during my time covering the league, and now one of the hosts of the Glue Guys podcast, because we needed more athletes on podcasts. Shane Battier, how are you, sir?
I'm here to serve, guys. I'm here to serve. Like the world needs another podcast, like the star in the universe. But here we are.
Here we are. You have a podcast, The Glue Guys. It launched in September with Alex Smith, former Pro Bowl quarterback, and Ravi Gupta, a partner at Sequoia Capital and former CFO and COO at Instacart. That is a pseudo semi-eclectic gathering of minds. How did the three of you guys come together to create a pod?
Well, it's a very random group. I didn't set out to be a podcaster. I went to school with Ravi at Duke. He graduated 2 years after I did. Obviously, brilliant business person, and now he's a partner at Sequoia after leading Instacart, which we all have come to rely on through the pandemic to an IPO. And we'd have these great conversations about life and about business and sports and our careers. And we realized that a lot of the things we talked about, leadership and teammateship and adversity, it's whether it's the boardroom or the locker room, they're very, very topical events, and they apply to everything in life. And so Ravi came to me and said, we should record these and put this out as a podcast. I said, no, Ravi, I do not want to be a podcaster. He said, we should record this and put it out and make a podcast. I said, Ravi, I don't want to be a podcast. No, Shane, I really think we should record these and put this out in the universe. We're going to recruit Alex Smith, who's super thoughtful and has had crazy career and now is a business person himself. We should record this. And so I said, fine, Ravi, you wore me down. And so we started Glue Guys this summer. We have about 20 episodes in the can. We launched our 11th episode last week. And it's a discussion that really reaches far and wide. And, everyone's part of a team. And everyone is trying to figure it out and trying to optimize for their teams, whether it's their family unit or their business or a sports team. And so we just have real conversations about our experiences. And we've all played with the best of the best, whether it's coaches or Hall of Fame teammates or Hall of Fame CEOs, and a lot of lessons that apply across the spectrum. So it's been a lot of fun. The reception has been great. You can listen to it on Spotify or YouTube or Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. And it's been fun. It's been fun for me to just learn. And, I'm a 46-year-old has-been now. So it's nice to tell stories of the day when I used to be somebody. And maybe now my kids will believe me that people used to listen to what I said. And I was pretty good.
I was going to ask you, but you answered the question, so I'll ask another one. How long did it take before you hit your stride on the podcast? I mean, I have my own stories about that, but how long until you settled in and started to enjoy it rather than if you were nervous at all to start?
We were never nervous. It's very organic. Podcasting is a great medium because there are no rules. You make up the rules. And there's no one telling you that you're breaking the rules. The only way you know is if people stop listening. And so you can do whatever you want, and you have a while before that happens. And so, it's just us chopping it up. No different than us being on a Zoom weekly and talking about how our wives are yelling at us or our kids don't listen to us, and trying to figure out business problems and just trying to figure it out together. And it's been a fun journey, and I've really appreciated my co-hosts Ravi and Alex and their experiences, and really it's just about learning and getting better. No different than our playing days.
I was I bounced around, Shane. I listened to some pieces of multiple episodes, and then there was one that caught my eye on one of the episode descriptions that I did not actually get to this particular anecdote. So I'm just going to ask you. I'm cheating here now because I didn't actually find the section of the podcast. But there's in one of the section descriptions or one of the episode descriptions, it says Shane recalls Steve Kerr flipping racks of basketballs. And so if I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about Steve Kerr flipping racks of basketballs. I don't even know where that would have been. Were you guys teammates at any point?
No, this was a story that I heard from Chip England. So Chip, the great Chip England, the greatest shooting coach of all time. He actually worked with Steve as one of his first clients when he first started coaching. And I was lucky to find Chip, obviously, through our connection at Duke, and Chip changed my life and changed my shot twice and changed my life. And he, what makes Chip so special as a basketball coach, he's really a basketball psychologist, and his mindset. Raj, I don't know if you ever had a chance to work with Chip, or you played against him for many years, but he was unbelievable for me in changing my mindset and how to be an NBA player. And, I'm a nice guy and I'm a team guy. And he told the story of like, look, you never want people to feel they know you and start to take you for granted. All right. You always have to keep people on edge. And so, Steve Kerr, universal good guy, it's hard to find anyone to say a bad thing about Kerr. When he was with the Bulls, he felt he was being taken for granted every now and then. By Michael, by Scotty, by Phil, because he was such a good guy, such a good soldier, and would just do what he would do. So he came into practice like once a year, and had a calculated flip out. And so they're playing and running the scrimmage, and Raja knows these in season scrimmages, they get loose, and the assistant coaches aren't calling fouls. So there was a foul where Kerr went to the hole, thought he got fouled, didn't call it. And he used that as an opportunity, and he just went off, start cussing, fuck this, fuck it, blah, 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 going crazy. Goes over to the Gatorade, bucket, dumps it over, goes to the ball rack, starts punting basketballs into the stands. And he's like, I'm out of here. Right? And everyone's like, whoa. Like, don't mess with Kerr. He's crazy. He's crazy. It's crazy. And, that simple act of just going nuts once a year kept people on edge enough to know that, like, look, we can't take this guy for granted, and he's got a screw loose, and we got to toe the line. So it's an amazing story, for I think for a lot of people who feel they get taken for granted, and people who don't feel that they get overlooked all the time. It's okay to flip out every now and then and say, hey, I'm here, and keep this up. You got to deal with me. And so, I never tipped over Gatorade bottles, but, I had my calculated flip outs during my career, and it was a great story.
So validating for me, man. I've said on this pod before, I mean, real talk. I've said on this pod, like, I went with crazy. Like, people said I was crazy. And while I didn't love it, it worked because it kept people guessing. Like, they never really knew what they were going to get. They were on their toes in a way that was kind of protective for me. You know what I mean? It was interesting like that. I do have a question. I mean, it's just kind of, you mentioned Chip, and I see so many guys now. It's been the viral about all these guys changing their shots, and a lot of them not to the success that you would like when you're making a shot change. I too went through one. I didn't go through. I didn't have the fortune of knowing Chip, but like, what do you estimate? I mean, he's just great at his job. I'm sure there's things that we could like go down a rabbit hole into like technique and whatnot. But what is it about him that makes him so successful at that? Because it really is. Sorry, but like when I talk to young coaches about that, I'm like, hey, if you don't know your way around, not the mechanics of the shot, but the head of the person whose shot you're changing, be very careful about that. Because so I'm curious from your perspective, what is it about Chip?
Well, we actually had a guest on our podcast, Glue Guys, a psychologist named David Yeager out of the University of Texas. And he wrote this great book called 10 to 25. And it's the psychology of motivating young people. And I've become friends with David. Fascinating book. Highly recommended if you're a parent or you work with young people. This will change your life. Oh. And I relayed the story about working with Chip. And he was looking at what he called the mentor mindset. And we talk about this on our podcast, but Chip embodies what every great teacher relays, and that's supportive and demanding. So highly supportive, highly demanding. And what Chip did, and it was magic. it was never about like, hey, you have to shoot the ball this way. You have to hold the ball this way. This is the technique. And if you don't do this, you're going to fail. Right. It was always a collaboration. And so like Chip got to me, my sophomore year after my freshman year in college, I shot 4 for 29 from 3 my freshman year at Duke. Right. So I was a career 38, 39% 3-point shooter in the NBA. So I was 4 for 28 my freshman year. I could shoot, but I didn't have success in games. And when I shot, I used to bring the ball up on kind of the side of my head. And Chip's like, hey, I love to work with you. All right. You're a great shooter. I've seen you shoot. You can make shots. All right. If you want to maximize your runway, all right, I think there are a few technical things that I can teach you to take you to the next level, but you're a great shooter, right? It wasn't, hey, you're a shitty shooter. You got to change everything. It ain't going to work. All right. And so I was interested. I'm like, all right, you got me. And he told me, like, for instance, because I brought the ball up on one side of the head, he's like, you're eliminating 1/2 of the basketball court. All right. This is back in the day when they used to run floppy action and, you come off screens to shoot. They don't do that anymore, kids. That was an old NBA.
Let me tell you a story from my days.
so Chip said, like, look, you're never going to be able to come off a screen going to your left because you're always going to have to bring the ball back to your right side, and the defender is going to be trailing you, and you're bringing it back to the defense. So literally, you're never going to be able to come off the screen to the left. And so you got to be able to learn to shoot off the middle of the nose and keep it more centered to be a quicker, more efficient shooter. And I'm like, okay, that makes total sense, right? So it wasn't like, no, you got to do it this way. It's like, this is how you should think about shooting and coming off to your left, right? Because you're dealing with the best athletes in the world, and you need every inch to get your shots off and to give yourself the best chance to score. And so when working with Chip, it was very collaborative. Every time we had a workout, he would say, okay, this is the drill I want to do. Now you pick a drill, Shane. What do you want to do? And so it really was a collaborative change, and you felt you had ownership in the change. And it took a lot of work. I mean, literally like a lot, like months and months and months of reps. But the belief that Chip I had in me, in my ability to make a change, just enhance my ability to believe that I can make a change for the better. And that is the whether it's a shooting coach or a teacher or a CEO, to be highly demanding, but also highly supportive is how you get people to change their behavior.
It's funny listening to you guys talk about this because there's something that has occurred to me many times over the years, especially because, like, you mentioned Chip. Everybody who covers the NBA, everybody who's in the NBA, everybody knows Chip England's track record in San Antonio and now Oklahoma. Like, he's great at this. There are others who do this, right? The one thing there's not is a standing role on every single NBA team for a shooting coach, right? You can't all be Chip England, but I'm sure there are a lot of other people who are very good at this.
Rob Folger's really good too. You know Rob, right?
Yeah,
Shane?
I know. Yeah, Rob's great.
Rob's really
Rob's
good.
great.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Howard. I had to give Rob a shout out. I've known him since I was like 12, so
But it's like the most like basic fundamental element of like basketball. The first thing you try to do, even when the first time you've got a ball in your hands as a kid, is put it through the hoop and then figure out how to do that consistently. Like, okay, this is the fundamental of the game. You have to learn other things too. But at the end of the day, put the ball through the hoop. Why aren't there more shooting coaches on NBA staffs? Like this seems so basic, and especially when you see the success that the Spurs have with Chip.
What Raja says about that.
It's an interesting question. I mean, it's interesting because it's so like right there in your face. It seems so common sense and necessary in a sport where that's your job. I think it's not everyone, and I'm on Instagram and stuff like that. I have a young boy who's playing a lot, and we had to take his shot from being that little boy kind of like hip shot into more of a adolescent shot. And so I looked around to see different things, and honestly, I think it's not everyone can marry the psychology of changing the shot with the mechanics of changing a shot. And so I think it does way more harm than good when you meet the guy, and you heard Shane talk about it a lot, about it being a collaborative effort. Shane, I have a son who's also my older son is a quarterback, and his throwing mechanics are like shooting. And going through quarterback coaches with him, I learned at an early age for him, like, hey, some of these dudes are like, they're really fucking his head up and just trying to fit him into this mold that he clearly doesn't want to be in.
Yep.
And so I honestly think it's that, Howard, the same with basketball shooting coaches. You could, first of all, not everyone's a great teacher, right? Just because you can do it doesn't mean you can teach me to do it. And then those who can maybe teach the form of it, again, we're all anatomically built different. My younger boy could never, ever get his hand on a ball the way my middle boy can because their wrists don't move the same. So like trying to make him shoot it like the middle one is nonsensical. And I think it's a combination of things. Like guys don't marry the two things, the psychology that goes into it with the mechanics that, to Shane's point, every shot's like a snowflake. They're all a little different, but there are some mechanical things that you want to be similar. And finding the sweet spot between the psychology and the mechanics is the brilliance, I think.
Yeah, but wouldn't every team want somebody at least trying to do that for usually your weaker shooters or, whatever. Sometimes guys just need like a little bit of tune-up. So you'd think,
Howard, there's an interesting dynamic now, with teams, and I saw it in the front office. We saw it at the end of our career. Everyone's got a guy now.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a guy.
They got their own guy. They don't need a team
their
guy.
own guy.
Yeah.
And you see this not only in the shooting technique world, but like the medical, right? In the PR world. And the prevailing thought is like, no. They're on my team. I'm paying these people so they have my best interests at heart. And there's almost like a skepticism from players on the team side that like, I don't know. I know I'm paying this person. So like, they're really, really vested in me. I don't know if these coaches, are fully vested in me, which is ridiculous. Look, we all want to win. Like when we all win, we all eat. Right. And so there's almost an incentive misalignment there, which sounds crazy, but that's the dynamic. And so why am I going to listen to this guy when I'm paying this guy on this side and he's with me 24/7? And so that's another weird dynamic that's kind of prevalent in the modern NBA.